Neptune's moving into Aries, so we're going to be watching Mars because Mars rules Aries. And also some of us will even get into Pluto, and Pluto rules Aries. So this is a way we can drill down a little bit and get a little more specific and notice the changes, especially usually one planet changes signs and we get it so much on some level, but with all these planets changing signs all this time, it's incredible. So that's why people are amped up about this time. There's lots of change. So Mars is still in its shadow in Cancer, and so it's not too strong. It's exalted in Capricorn, the opposite sign's Cancer. So Mars right now is in its detriment, or actually no, it's fall. Even though it's springtime, we call it fall. So Mars is not that strong. So as Neptune moves in, the initial thing is more Cancer type energy of the Mars Aries type energy, if that makes sense. It's kind of, you start blending things. Kind of like if you're making a cake and frosting and you have a little bit of blue and a little bit of yellow, you're going to have a green cake. I don't know if you want that unless you're going for the football or golf scene or something, or maybe the ocean. But anyways, these are, again, different flavors where we add, so we have a little more understanding. So right off the bat, Neptune's kind of spacey. But in Aries, it's very aggressive. Aries, its style is to just do things and get into it right off the bat without hesitation. It's cardinal. It starts things. Fire has a passion. It's just burning to go. But, so like we're talking about, you reference Mars is in charge of Aries right now. It's in Cancer and it's not really strong. It's more focused on the family and others, which is the strength and the weakness of Cancer. So right now, it's like, how do we get started? We have a lot of distractions with family and friends and connecting with everybody else in the world. So we have to kind of work on our Mars Aries type energy of how we're going to do our own thing. When a planet retrogrades, at some point it stations retrograde, starts retrograde going back, and all that area that it goes back to, and then it stations and it ends retrograde and goes forwards. Well, it's backtracked. So all the degrees that it goes forwards and backwards in is called the shadow. If this is a retrograde ending point, the planet passes the retrograde ending point, gets to the beginning of the retrograde ending point, and it starts to retrograde and goes back. So from those two station points where it starts the retrograde and ends the retrograde, that's the shadow. So before it retrogrades, there's a shadow on approach. And after it retrogrades and stops and starts to go forward, it still has to go over the degrees it's backtracked or already covered. And that's the post or the waning shadow, if you want to call it that, per se. Why did I say all that stuff? Because Mars now is still in shadow. It's not retrograde anymore, but it's still in shadow. It went up to 17 Cancer roughly, and then it retrograded back. No, I'm sorry. It went up to Leo. It went up to 6 Leo, and that was December 6th, and that's right on the north node of the American chart, and then went all the way back to 17 Cancer. Now it's ended retrograde, but now it's starting to move forward. It's still in Cancer. It's got to get to Leo at 6 degrees. It's going to get to Leo on April 17th, but still we have to wait till we don't have to wait, but May 2nd, it'll get to 6 degrees Leo, and then it'll be out of shadow. So this is kind of, maybe say a buffer or a slow ramp up. Again, with Mars in Cancer, it's in its fall, so it's not acting super Mars or Aries aggressive. And Neptune going into Aries, it's going to be more aggressive and not as passive, and we're going to be empowered to do stuff. But again, it's ruler Mars, or dispositor, we'll say, is still not the strongest. So we have kind of a general ramp up, which is nice because so many things are changing. Like I made the point before with all the retrogrades of the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, they're all kind of waxing all over these points of kind of slow and work into it because of the retrograde and the shadows we just went into depth with. Direct is when it's going in the path of the zodiac signs. And Mars, it's the closest speed to the Earth speed. So part of the formula for the retrogrades is the relationship from the Earth speed around the sun to the other planets. And since Mars' speed is very similar to the Earth, it's really an interesting, funky kind of thing. It's about 6 months when it's dealing with the shadow area and the retrograde area. Excuse me. Mars doesn't like to retrograde. It doesn't like to stop at all, especially in Aries. So it doesn't even like me saying this. So anyways, so it's about 6 months of, see, remember Mars went retrograde back in December 6th, but it was in shadow long before that. And now it's still in shadow, and we have to wait till May 2nd. So it's it's about 6 months chunk to keep in the back of your head when you keep starting doing calculations in astrology and you get more of this stuff flowing to explain stuff to people. But anyways, so once it gets going, it takes a little while to ramp up, but then it's about 6 weeks in a sign. So it'll start flying through signs back at its normal forward pace. So that's, every planet's kind of unique and has its own cycle, and even those cycles adjust a little bit. But basically 6 weeks in a sign is Mars at regular speed when it's not anywhere near the retrograde or shadow areas. So we'll see, after 6 months of, it was in early up to 6 degrees Leo and went back to 17 Cancer. Now we're going to see it get going in about 6 weeks a sign. So it'll do, the Leo's coming up, and again, it's picking up speed still, and then it'll start going through Virgo and Libra, Scorpio, Sag, and so on, about 6 weeks per sign. So we're tying this back into, it's ruling Neptune. So pretty soon, every 6 weeks, we're going to kind of have a shift of how we figure out how to work Neptune, because the Mars is kind of in the charge, and it gives a little extra thing, a little extra, input or stylization to it. So we were talking about the dispositor, or the ruler, or the lord of a given sign. So the sign is kind of the style, and there's a planet assigned to that style or that sign. And with Neptune going to Aries, the sign of Aries is in charge of, Mars is in charge of the sign of Aries. So again, it's kind of passive in Cancer right now, still in the shadow. Excuse me. It hates talking about shadow and being in the Cancer. Could you tell? Mars is choking me up. He's like, get me out of here. I mean, Cancer's great, good for real estate and cooking and family stuff, but Mars wants to be an action hero. So it's going to move into Leo, again, kind of gently, because it's got to get to 6. That's May 2nd. It'll get out of shadow, but on April 17th, it'll shift into Leo, and suddenly Mars is in a fire sign, and that style, also ruled by the sun, so we look at the sun a little bit, but it's very passionate and very energetic, and the sun sign and Jupiter and Sag and Mars and Aries, all the fire signs are very passionate and energetic. The fires, think of a fire dances on the log with the air, and it burns and it makes smoke, so that's the earth part of it. But anyways, if you know fire people, they're pretty on the go, pretty passionate, very fun people typically. So we'll have that shift of Mars getting into a fire sign, Leo, and it's more bravado. So that'll start to stoke us more, because Neptune's been, it's about 14 years in a sign. Neptune's been in more passive, receptive yin water sign, Pisces, and ruled by itself, Neptune, and the old ruler Jupiter. So it's on a different level, but Mars is the first initiation, first day of spring, Aries type. Woohoo! And when it's in Leo, it likes that energy too, because it's fire, so it's a trine energy. It starts to flow, and we'll get maybe a little more bravado. So all the things you've been working on, your interior dreams and whatever fine arts you're doing, or whatever kind of stuff we've talked about with, excuse me, with the inner Pisces of connecting with a higher being, or doing artwork, or meditating, or whatever, those kind of fine art things. We're going to be able to show it more, whatever, what's been more inside and within the realm, or it could be infinite, but it's more inside your mind, connecting with everything. With the fall of the fire coming, it'll be more action and more yang, and more you getting into how to express yourself with all your wonderful stuff you've been contemplating for so long. So another point is Mercury and Venus are going retrograde, and they're both in Pisces now. And they're going over the North Node in Pisces, and also connecting with the Neptune just as they entered, just before Neptune went into Aries. So this is another indicator of the personal planets kind of backtracking, and the retrograde motions is kind of looking at what you like and don't like, and seeing how to sift it out, how to get rid of some things, open up space for new things, maybe modify something. So again, that's another indicator of this transitions kind of being buffered by the personal planets. So Mercury will end its retrograde first, and that's, let's see, that's at April 7th. And then Venus is the 12th, is it? Yes. So on the 12th, Venus will start going forward. And again, they'll be going through shadow, but that's a good thing. But again, it's going within. All these indicators are kind of go within and listen to yourself. Don't worry about the outside world so much. Just make sure you have quiet time and focus on what you want and review it, what's worked and hasn't worked for you in the past, whether Venus is kind of like your desires, Mercury's mental activity, how you think, and of course we talked about Mars earlier, and that's your actions.